And now we welcome to the Masked Man Show one of my personal favorites of all time, one of my icons, the living legend himself, Chris Jericho. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. But just to start off, you have to watch Calling Me a Living Legend because Larry Zbyszko sued me once for making a T-shirt in WWE that said "Living Legend Chris Jericho." And if you
Are you
remember,
serious?
there was a short period of time when I called myself that, and I had to go to a what's it called when you have to go like
an arbitration thing or
to an
something?
inquiry or whatever. And I was on my day off, and some of the evidence that was presented was from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I had explained to the lawyer, like, Pro Wrestling Illustrated is all made up.
Yeah.
They just write whatever they want. So anyway,
That's awesome.
15 years later, I'm the living legend again.
Yeah, you are. Well, to me, you'll always be living. I mean, listen, I was a big Zbyszko fan in his day. Although when I was growing up watching him, he was always the living legend because I sort of, it was post San Martino feud. And I didn't understand the history. I just had to take him at their word. There's probably a lot of people that watch Chris Jericho now that started watching Chris Jericho at some point in the past 5 years or 10 years that don't have the same frame of reference for Chris Jericho that I do. What do you feel like with social media, YouTube, with all the archives online, that fans seem to know the Lionheart Chris Jericho as well as they always did?
Well, the thing that's cool is that when you've had a career as long as I have, there's always going to be kind of I look at it like Kiss or the Stones or a band that's been around for Iron Maiden. There's the classic albums. There's the ones that the majority might not like as much that other people think is the greatest thing ever. There's different areas that people tap into and enjoy. And, whatever, if the Chris Jericho career is a skyscraper building, and you got on the first floor and got off on the 5th, or if you got on the 6th and stayed on to the 20th, or if you got on the 21st and got off on the 22nd, like whatever it is, if you appreciated my work at any time, I'm happy about that. And there are people that know the whole history of Jericho. Mm-hmm. And there are people that probably are just seeing Jericho for the first time over the last couple months, and everybody in between. So that's all good because that's the sign of having a long, versatile career. But like you said, with social media and Instagram, I mean, I'm seeing clips all the time that I've never seen before. I posted one,
I bet,
just a couple of days ago from a talk show I did in England in 2000 in the UK, and I'd never seen it before. I don't even know if I remember doing it. I just remember the time frame. But that's cool even for me to see these clips from 25 years ago, and for all the fans, old and new as well.
Do you what you're talking about, the Kiss or the Stones or whatever? It's like this isn't anything shocking, but it's like I'm a big early Stones fan. Like Beggar's Banquet's like the greatest album ever, and I could do without a lot of the '80s stuff. But the '80s were like, if the '80s didn't happen, then the Stones wouldn't exist the way they exist today. Like, do you have a favorite? Not just a favorite moment in your career, like a favorite persona or whatever period that you would consider, but maybe one that gets underrated because it was so important to you becoming who you are now?
Well, whenever I get asked that, I always say the current version, because if I didn't, then I'd be like, what am I doing? But I like the idea of what I'm doing now with Jericho. Yeah. And just by not using that first name a lot, it created this whole intrigue online. Like, what's he doing? What's the idea? What's the reason? And honestly, it's like a self-titled album. That's where I kind of got the idea from. I could create, a dozen other nicknames, but how many more do I need? Everyone knows who Jericho is. And when you hear that name, then you can go remember whatever memories that you have on your own. So it really is like, Metallica, the Black Album. Mm-hmm. It didn't need to be called anything. You know who Metallica is. You know what's going on. The Beatles, the White Album, same thing. So that's kind of what the idea is for the Jericho era. And I like it. I like kind of what's been going on and kind of going with the flow and seeing what's working and what's not. When you're going through underrated Jericho eras, gosh, I mean, I think the Wizard was pretty cool when I started throwing the fireballs.
Yes.
That was something that nobody had seen for years in pro wrestling. I just thought that was really cool, to where we were in Vegas and I had to get a magician's license for real to throw a fireball, because that's the rules that the commission has, which I
really?
Yeah. Yeah, which I still renew every year and carry with me at all times. So yes, I am a licensed magician in Nevada. I think it might not be underrated. I think just because it was such a long time ago, I think the very first kind of iteration of Jericho is kind of like the crybaby era of the tantrums and the slamming the chair against the post, ripping off Dave Penzer's tuxedo. Like that was kind of the era where who is this guy? The paragon of virtue and
Yes.
all that stuff. Raw. Was it Monday Night Jericho? That era. That was a really good time, and people still bring up the clip of the man of 1,004 holds, but there was a dozen other ones. I remember I went to the White House once. We went to Washington, D.C., and I was a conspiracy victim. And when we showed up, I thought the camera guys were going to know what they wanted us to do, and the camera guys thought that I would know what. So neither one of us had any ideas. So we just walked around D.C. and the White House, and we were filming me in front of the White House doing this speech, and we almost got arrested because you can't film the White House with cameras and stuff. So that was a good era. And then I also think that the Learning Tree was a good era because it was kind of really going left field and really kind of focusing on the haters of the world, which then made them hate it even more. So that might be a little bit more of a Stone's dirty work.
Yeah.
Kiss the Elder, Saint Anger type of vibe. But I thought that was a really cool one as well. So, I whether you like it or not, I've given 1,000% for every single iteration of Chris Jericho. And there's never been one where I thought, oh, this one's not going to work. Let me focus on it. Like everything that I've done, I've put a 1,000,000% into it. Sometimes it doesn't work as well as the others, but the intent and the passion and the effort has always been there.
I know when you started, when it was just Jericho, when you made your return, I'm going to talk a little bit more about your return in a minute. But when I heard just Jericho, I just shook my head to myself because it was like when you made the return in WWE and didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I was just like the most basic, the most simple thing that I just know is going to work the second I see it. And I'm just like, I'm stunned that I haven't seen this before. I don't remember, it's going to work for you. You must have like, you have all these ideas, all these new like names for every iteration of your character. Do you have like a notebook where you come up with stuff that you're going to use down the road? And I can relate this to your upcoming match. You're wrestling the Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing this weekend, AEW Double or Nothing on May 24th, live from Queens, New York. When you're trying to think of the moment that you're going to stand out in a Stampede match with, do you have a list of those and along with your like potential future gimmicks?
No. Can I call you Shoemaker?
Yeah, call me Shoemaker.
No first name Shoe, last name Maker. You can't because we don't know what we're dealing with, right? For Stadium Stampede. I'll never forget the first time we went to the TIAA Stadium in Jacksonville. You walk out there and it's literally a football field, an empty football field. What the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do? And by the way, what is a Stadium Stampede match?
Yeah.
It's like being in the first elimination chamber. What is this thing? What are we supposed to do? You can't go back and watch the famous elimination chamber from the Charlotte Coliseum in '84 with Dusty. Like, it doesn't work that way. So we will get to the venue earlier on in the day. And, having the experience that we had from the first one, and then the first Anarchy in the dogs are going crazy. The Anarchy in the Arena was the first one in Vegas. Same thing. What's the difference between Anarchy in the Arena and Stadium Stampede? I don't know.
Yeah. It's what you make of it.
We made them different and created different kind of themes and ideas for both. I just saw something pop up the other day where I had I think it was, I don't know if it was a Falls Count Anywhere, whatever the rule was, with Roderick Strong about 2 years ago. It's the only time I've ever wrestled Roderick. We didn't know what to do. We walked around the venue. We found this really cool stairwell with like a ledge on the side, and we fought on the ledge. And people, they're going to fall. There's no way either one of us are falling down the pit, but we could fake it. So that one stood out really well. So we'll get there early. We'll look around, kind of know what we want to do. There's a couple ideas that we've already had from kind of what we know about the place and for entrances, and you plan ahead for stuff like that. But the most exciting thing, just like we did with the very first one back in 2021, I think 20, whenever it was, 2020. just get there and let's figure this out, man. We're here a day before. You've got, if you think of some ideas, and you better get up early on 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday to the props guys to go get, 10,000 tennis balls, whatever the hell is we're going to need. And you go from there. So it's very exciting, Shu, because you are live without a net. Like there is no, I could put together a match right now for you and I to wrestle and do it. Let's do it. You can't do that with a stadium stampede. Not to mention, there's 14 guys involved.
Yeah. Between you and me, no one's listening right now.
If no one was listening, I wouldn't be doing the show.
I appreciate it. When you're punching a dude through the crowd and into the back, do you have any concept of when the camera is on you?
I mean, I do, because I've been doing, television wrestling for 32 years. I think we started in Mexico. So you always kind of know when the red light is on and know what's going on. When there's cues. I'll always have the camera guy go like, this or whatever,
Yeah.
Because I need to know, or at least try. Because a lot of times if you're in the midst of the fight, you're hoping if it's something good, they catch it.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Like the first Anarchy Arena was so batshit crazy that like you didn't know what to film.
Yeah.
So what then I would make sure to do is I'm going to take some kind of a bump. I would really tee it up. And of course, we have some semblance of an order to it, but that could fall out the window in 5 seconds. But if the order is working, and that, I don't know where the hell we didn't see him, that Eddie Kingston's going to be walking to the ring with a gas can and pour the gas on me. You might want to keep the camera on me and not on, Ortiz jumping off a ladder through a table, which I think kind of happened.
Yeah.
You try and, disperse it any way you can, but it's a live movie. The first Stadium Stampede, it was filmed, all of it. Now, granted, it was filmed from 10 o'clock Saturday night to 5 o'clock Sunday morning, that then had to be turned over and edited at 10, at 11 a.m. Sunday morning to be done by 3 p.m. to have it in the system in time for the pay-per-view. But that was like, a 25-minute filmed movie in 24 hours. The second one was half and half. We had to time it perfectly. And right when we hit that 19 mark, we got to be walking through the curtain to be fighting in the crowd.
Yeah.
This one, I still don't know what we're going to do because it's not pandemic anymore. We kind of, there's just, like I said, man, there's really nothing we can really say right now until we get there and kind of figure out some of the nuts and bolts of what we're going to do.
You recently made your return to AEW wrestling. There was a lot of rumor and innuendo around the pro wrestling internet that you were talking to WWE at the time. There was a widespread belief that you had signed with WWE at one point. How much of that was real? How much, was the return to AEW always a given in your mind, or was it really there was potential you would jump ship?
Well, the interesting thing about fans and kind of going back to what we said earlier about having a career where you can watch anything online is that fans, in this day and age, then form their own opinions, and then it becomes, law.
Yeah.
Because the opinions spread, so whatever people believed or didn't believe, it's like I was not ever a part of any of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think the best part is there was so much speculation of what is he going to do, that either way, with the tribalism of wrestling nowadays, there'd be people happy about it and not happy about it. And this is the worst thing ever. And this is the best thing ever. And, I've never really focused on the that side of like, this is terrible and it's never going to work. Cause to me, anything can work, and you always want to do your best to make it work. And I focus on the people who are excited about things, and the people who want to be entertained and want to be happy and want to have fun. That's kind of the crowd that I focus on. So
it does seem more divided. For the record, did you give an official answer? You said that the rumors became fact, but you were a complete free agent. Can you tell us whether or not you had some conversations with other places?
No, I never said the rumors came fact. I said that the rumors became fact to the fans. Right? Yeah. But yeah, I'll leave that. I'll leave that for another day.
Okay.
I like the idea of the intrigue.
Yeah. No. Listen. Your whole career has been about intrigue on some level. And when you returned to AEW, I got feelings. It was like one of those things that I didn't know I needed, and then you were back, and I was so happy that you were there, and I can't wait to see you wrestle at Double or Nothing. Of course, like we said, the Stadium Stampede match, like anything crazy could happen. You mentioned before that you've done it. You've done it before with some of your partners. This time, obviously, the Bucks. There are a lot of people now in AEW with some experience, but most of your opponents are people that are either relatively new to AEW or you just haven't crossed paths with a lot in your career. Is there of this? Obviously, Ricochet. Your interactions with Ricochet have been gold. You talk about like the whiny era of Chris Jericho. Ricochet has sort of embodied a lot of that in his AEW run. Mark Davis, Andrade, the guys and the dogs. What's it like to work with, obviously these guys have big resumes prior to coming to AEW, but is it a different vibe working with people who you're relatively new to?
No, it's amazing, and that's kind of the idea. That's why I still love wrestling and still, feel that I'm doing it on a high levels, because it's great to go in there with Ricochet. We've never crossed paths before. And once again, you hear all the the conspiracies about Jericho. My goal is always to build my opponent, always. And I think if you look and you really know the business, you can see that with everybody that I've been in the ring with. No, once in a while it doesn't work the way you want it to, but once again, not by lack of effort. I think the stuff Ricochet and I have done over the last couple months has been amazing, and I think he's a way bigger name now than he was on March 30th. And it gives me relevancy.
Relevance. I think they both work weirdly,
whatever
but
it works.
yeah.
Because to work with younger guys, I mean, obviously at this point everybody's a younger guy, but my mindset is always set in what can we do to make this the best possible show. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I don't care. I care about making the best story possible. So when you talk with Ricochet, amazing. Gates of Agony, I think I've learned a lot. The thing that we do with Hurt Business a couple weeks ago, none of us thought it was going to get the reaction that it did.
Yep.
Like, we've got something now. We can now go back to Jericho and the Hurt Business, or Hurt Syndicate, at any time. And you never know that. And obviously I worked with Shelton many, many times 20 years ago, and MVP
Crazy.
as well. But the three of them as a unit, which I love from the moment they first came out in WWE into AEW into now, I would love to do more with them.
Yeah.
Teaming with the Bucks and Kenny, we kind of did a little bit starting, then Kenny got hurt. Bucks and I have never done anything together, always against each other, and then you talk about the dogs. I mean, I just texted Finley the other day. I said, okay, so you mean to tell me I had to get kicked in the back by you 20 years ago? Now I have to deal with your freaking son beating me up? Like, what the hell's my problem? I remember David Finley, Jr., I guess. We got Fit and Dave. I remember David Finley crying when he was probably 10 years old, because Fit and I went to a draw on WCW Saturday Night in Athens, Georgia, or whatever. He was furious at me because his dad didn't beat me. So, Andrade I've never worked with. I mean,
that's
briefly,
crazy.
Yeah. So all those guys, it's very exciting. The whole team, I'm looking forward to doing.
If you whatever tour you were on, if you had to go up and down the East Coast wrestling Fit Finley every night, you have done more work in that one stretch than most humans do in their lifetime. I can't even imagine.
In some ways, but in other ways, you've done less work. I mean, there might be a couple stiff kicks here and there, but guys like Fit are the guys that we learned from to where you understand that you don't have to do anything to get crazy reactions. It's all character and where you put things. And guys like Fit kind of helped me realize that. And then I'm able to do that. I still remember with Jack Perry, the first time we worked afterwards, he was like, man, I never realized how easy it could be. And that's what you want. How easy it can be if you know what you're doing to get reactions. It's like the Hurt Syndicate. If you look at the match we had, it was a great match with Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. If you counted the, crazy bumps, I bet you there might have been one, maybe none.
Yeah.
It was all attitude and placement and intensity and just the uniqueness and freshness of the match. That's what you want.
Yeah. You talked about everybody being younger now. I completely accidentally saw you on the new show Margot's Got Money Troubles yesterday. It's a fantastic show that weirdly gets pro wrestling right in a way that very few crossover things really have. There's a scene where the main character's dad, who's an ex-wrestler, goes to a convention and you're in the ring. He ends up getting in the ring with you, but you're also, I mean, they name you as Chris Jericho, but you sort of explain that he's, this is a former great too, and you guys mix it up for a second. What's it like? I know you've got some other acting stuff coming up too. What was doing Margot's Got Money Troubles like? Is there more of you on that show than just the one? And what else do you have in the Hollywood pipeline?
So I auditioned for the part that Nick Offerman plays, who's the dad of Margot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I auditioned for that, because he's a pro wrestler and his ex-wife is a Hooters
waitress. Yeah.
Well, my wife used to work at Hooters, so it's kind of like this one's made for you. Yeah. So I did this audition, not really knowing, and they gave it to Nick Offerman. He only won an Emmy. What did he ever do? But they really liked what I did. It was this really big time Hollywood casting director called David Rubin, who, a while later called us back and was like, we really want to put Chris into this series somehow. We really liked what he did. Let us think about it for a bit. And then, of course, you don't hear anything. And then, gosh, months later, they said, we've got a scene for Chris. He's going to play himself, and he's going to be in a ring wrestling. And I was like, I don't know. And he's going to be in there with Nick Offerman and Nicole Kidman. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. What do you need me to do? Like, come on, really?
Yeah.
So in the scene, they wrote it for me, and it was longer. We filmed more, and they cut some of it, which is Hollywood. But just the buzz of being on that show was unbelievable, and it just got picked up for a second season. And, there's a possibility that there'll be more, Jericho and Jinx. Because like you said, the seeds have been planted that Jericho and Jinx know each other, love each other, have a backstory. So if they want to delve into it, I mean, it went so well that it would be a blast to do, and that kind of led right into, you mentioned other things. I just filmed Dexter.
Oh yeah, I saw the preview for that you're in. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool. And then there's another really big show that hasn't been announced I'm going to be on yet, but it's a big one. And when that one's on, that's probably the biggest part that I've played. And the next time I do your show, we can discuss. But that's how it works, man. It's just like wrestling or just like rock and roll. One thing, I did Tracker a couple months ago, which is the biggest show on CBS. Tracker leads to Margot, leads to Dexter, leads to this next one. That's how you kind of like 1-2 punch it and start a buzz. So that's been working really well for me as well. So kind of in tandem with this return to AEW, and then just doing this huge Fozzy tour that we just did, it's been a really good spring, shall we say, for Chris Jericho.
Totally sounds like it. We got to let you get out of here. My other producer, who's not here, as I was talking to him a second ago, he was like, "Be sure you ask him about Nick Bockwinkel." And full disclosure, I just wrote a book about Hulk Hogan, and of course, all these characters from Hulk Hogan's past spring out at you, and you're watching millions of hours of tape. But Nick Bockwinkel is always one for me. I mean, in AWA, Nick Bockwinkel is a god.
Yeah.
And I had forgot that when you were wearing the suits and everything like that was your inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you have any other wrestlers, not just who you loved, but who maybe have inspired any of these eras of Chris Jericho in interesting ways?
Well, the Suit and Tie Jericho, which was the famous feud with Shawn Michaels, that was highly influenced by Bockwinkel. The Suit, using big words to make people feel stupid.
So
and then there was a lot of No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
Who was played by I forgot, Javier Bardem.
Bardem, yeah.
Very quiet speaking, and this is what's going to happen. So that was kind of the combination of that. But I mean, there's been a lot of different kind of, for example, the Festival of Friendship with Kevin Owens and I, that was meant to start out as an 80s David Lee Roth video and end as the Game of Thrones Red Wedding. So I'll take kind of ideas like that. Maybe not a certain thing, but like I said, Jericho, that's from Metallica, the Black Album, the Beatles' White Album. Like, what can I put into this sort of thing to make it, real to me? Because if it's real to me, then I can really sell it to you, really make it feel something real. So yeah, that's kind of the mindset for everything that I do. Not so much mimicking, but taking certain elements of things and putting them all into a blender and shaking them up, and suddenly you've got this really cool, persona that you've created with little pieces of all your favorite ingredients of your inspirations.
God, it's so great. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. You really are a living legend to me, and I'm sure everybody listening to this. But the living is the important part. You got a big match on Sunday at AEW Double or Nothing, part of the Stadium Stampede match, which has too many other people in it for me to name. But it's going to be. I mean, these matches have really won me over. Like it's. Nothing against the matches, but just I think that the unexpectedness of it kind of just clouded my brain at the beginning. It's just like I don't know what I'm going into, so I don't know how excited to be. But like they're so fun every time. They're unskippable, right? You can't fast forward for a second because even if you're watching on replay, because you never know what's going to happen next. And
yeah, it's become a trademark for AEW, one of kind of our cornerstones that we can go to at any time. Just same with Anarchy in Arena. That we have these matches that are exclusive to AEW, and that's one of the reasons why the company has grown and is so successful, because we've created our own identity in so many ways.
I agree. Well, happy to see you back there. Can't wait to watch you wrestle on Sunday. Chris Jericho, Jericho. Thank you so much for coming on the Masked Man Show.
Thank you, Shoemaker.